showtime. Welcome to the show. I'm Brent Holland, and welcome one and all to Night Fright. Settle in, get comfy in your comfy chair, put your feet up. Get the coffee going, get the tea going, get a juice going, get a beverage of your choice going. Tonight we've got a great show for you. You know, folks, all of us at one point or another have to deal with death of a loved one. Our guest tonight is familiar with that. But what's really interesting about our guest tonight is in a new book she has out called Closer Than You Think, she's in contact with her sister who she lost. And she says with practice and with some of the techniques located in this book, you can do the same. So don't go anywhere, folks, because this is enticing. Let me tell you, if you have a chance to speak to a lost loved one on the other side and converse with them, you don't want to miss this. Strap in and hang on. Here we go.
There is a time to question. There is a time for answers. There is a time to challenge. There is a time to speculate. There is a time for change. There is a time for truth. The time is now. Welcome to Night Fright, your voice in the dark for paranormal and conspiracy radio. And now your host, Brent Holland.
Welcome to the show, folks. I'm Brent Holland, and welcome to Night Fright. Tonight, folks, we're going to be looking at a new book by Deborah Heneghan, Closer Than You Think, the easy guide to connecting with loved ones on the other side. And what's wonderful about this book is that finality. You know, we all have to deal with that finality of death when a loved one passes away. There seems to be no contact. That's it. They're gone. But not so with this book. Apparently they're around us all the time, and if we just tune in to what they're actually saying, we can actually correspond with them. And I think it's absolutely fascinating, the possibilities that are portrayed in this book. Deborah, I want to welcome you to the show for the very first time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Brent. It's good to be here.
It's a terrific story. Let's start off with your sister. I had alluded to her in the beginning of the show. Let's start off with your sister and the tragedy that befell your family.
So she was diagnosed with leukemia when she was 13 years old, and we were 2 years apart. She had dealt with the disease for a year and went into remission. So we had an opportunity at that time for us to get close and start being sisters and friends at that time. But she then went out of remission and had missed school for high school in 10th grade, went to school in 11th grade, and then she was out of school in 12th grade because she was sick again. And during her senior year is whenever she passed away. So she passed away in February of 1987. And at that time, I was 15 and she was 17. And so for me, that was the first person that I had ever lost. So all of my grandparents were alive. For me to lose her, I didn't really understand death. And for all of us to have lost it, for parents to lose a child, I can't even imagine now having my own children. I don't know how my parents made it through it, but we all dealt through it the best that we could. And at that time, I was in denial. I actually thought she's going to come walking in the room any moment because I know that she must be here. And I hoped for that, and I didn't really grieve very much. But a couple weeks after she passed, she actually came to me in the middle of the night. And just to back up for a moment, just to give a little example, when she was sick, I actually slept on the floor in her bedroom to help her to get up to go to the bathroom because she was very weak at that time. So she was very quiet, and she would just whisper my name, Deb, so slightly quiet, but I would hear it like a pin drop. I'd jump right up and pick her up and carry her into the bathroom. So for me, I was very used to hearing her whisper my name, Deb, in the middle of the night. So for her to come to me in the middle of the night to my bedside, that was very natural. I mean, that was something that she would do. And she whispered my name, the same tone, the same voice that had spoken to me every night for months whenever she was ill. And so I immediately woke up, as I usually did, and I looked to my bedside and I saw her and I thought, I knew you were going to come back. And I was actually quite excited. So I reached out to touch her and she disappeared. And all that I could think was, oh my God, what happened? Where did you go? Did I do something wrong? And, I sort of laid there for a little while and thought about it. And the next morning I got up and I just started talking to her. I just was asking questions like, are you okay? What happened? Why did you come to me? Is there something you wanted to tell me? And so I asked those questions, but then I started talking about my life, just generally speaking. How do I go back to school and face everybody in school? You're supposed to be graduating this year. And, it was just very different for me because, again, I didn't quite understand what it was like to lose someone. And so when I started asking questions about going back to school and facing our friends, working with our mom and dad and different things, I started to receive answers from her. And it wasn't necessarily through her voice. It was more through numbers and songs initially. And for one, back then in the 80s, she loved the group Journey. So Don't Stop Believing, Faithfully, Open Arms. All right. She loved Journey. And I still hear Journey to this day as if they are a popular group. So for me, she would just play those songs right at the best time, at the most opportune time when something was going on where I may have felt overwhelmed, sad, depressed, whatever it may have been. And she would just play the song, but it wasn't just the song that was being played, it was the feeling that came along with it. It was as if I was being touched in my heart or receiving what I like to call an invisible hug from her. So we just started connecting that way. Seems very simple, but I was never expecting her to answer. And through songs and numbers is how we established our own connection. And from there, I just would always ask for a sign. And when I needed it the most, the song start playing, her favorite number would pop out on a billboard, or I would see it someplace. Exactly. I would see it someplace in a book. I mean, it would just happen. And again, along with that number or song would be this feeling of her presence or feeling her near. So it was really beautiful. And what I always like to say to people, when we talk about spiritual connections, I know that many people, it's becoming a little bit more open to talk about in this day and age now. But years ago, if I were to talk about it, people would look at me as if I had 7 heads and, think, oh, this is all woo-woo and you're nuts. But now it's a little bit more open. And what I like to say to people now is when I talk about spiritual connections and the beauty that I have with my sister, something that I believe we're all meant to have, I'm not talking about something that is requires special powers or special abilities. We all have the ability to connect if we wish to do so, if it feels comfortable to us. So spiritual connections for me and for everyone is as simple as this. And I'll even ask you, Brent, I'm sure you have experienced the loss of a loved one at some point.
Absolutely.
Have you ever experienced the loss of a loved one and shortly after they've passed, or even if it's years later, have you ever felt them around you,
Sure.
even just once?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that we all know it could be something very slight, very small, or very subtle, like smelling their scent, or maybe just hearing their voice for a split second and you sort of look and think, was that them? It could be something that small and subtle, but you feel it in your heart. And it's so peaceful and loving and comforting. That is a spiritual connection. So everyone has had it. It's just a matter of us admitting that that we've had it. So this isn't anything new that I'm talking about. It's just helping people realize that beautiful connection that we feel when they reach out to us, even if it's only once, is beautiful. And it does give us that love and comfort, something that we should just cherish because it does help us to get through the pain. The void will never go away. And of course, we wish we could always bring our loved ones back. I know if I could, I'd bring her back in a heartbeat, but I can't. So I cherish the feelings in that moment of that connection that we have. And that helps me to sort of turn my pain into peace and comforting. And for what I found from others is they do the same. So what I always say to everyone is, you've experienced it at least once, probably more, but at least once. That experience is a spiritual connection. What you do with it is your choice. So take what feels right to you.
And that's what I like about your book, Deborah, is the fact that you take the hocus pocus out of it, the paranormal out of it, even though it really is outside the normal, if you will.
It is, sure.
But at the same token, what you mentioned before about a peace of mind, a peace of heart, the feeling, and that's so important when you connect with the other side. And, you would ask me if I had a loved one. I can feel my great aunt, who we kind of had a bond when she was alive. Grand lady. I can feel her around me right now, actually. Mm-hmm. As I go into this.
My sister's here too, so
there you go.
Come on in.
Something that I was made aware of, and I learned something from your book. I should plug your book. I apologize. Folks, sometimes I get lost in our conversations, and that's what I like about this show. It's not a structured show. It's not scripted at all. I virtually fly by the seat of my pants on this show.
I love it.
So the book is called Closer Than You Think. Our guest today is Deborah Heneghan. Easy way to get the book, www.nightfrightshow.com. Just click on tonight's guest book cover. That'll take you right to a spot where you can order the book from the comfort of your own home. It's about connecting with a lost loved one or loved ones on the other side. Now, what is very interesting about the story about your sister is the fact that you have this bond, this connection. When you woke up that morning after she appeared to you, has she appeared to you again, by the way? I wanted to ask you that.
Yeah, no, unfortunately not. So I talk about in the book about rockstar moments versus subtle synchronicities or subtle signs.
We're going to get to that for sure.
And her appearing to me was no question a rock star moment because I could see her with my eyes. It was for me to see.
And you were
She has not appeared to me again once in over 25 years. Now, she has appeared to my older sister twice, and I thought, hey, you need to come to me. But
so you still got that sibling rivalry going on.
Yeah, it's still going on. But, she hasn't, and I think it's because we have connected in other ways. And I don't necessarily need the rock star moments. Now, I would love them, of course, but I guess, I believe everybody above goes by what it is that we truly need. They know what's best, and I really don't need to see her as much as I would love to. So for me, even though I don't have the so-called rock star moment, as I would call them, which is, again, appearing in person or appearing to you in a dream, having something physical happen within the room, something being knocked over or moved, or hearing their voice speak to you. Those are all rock star moments. But even though I don't have many of those, the subtle signs are just as powerful as the rock star moments. And the subtle signs and synchronicities are much more plentiful than the rock star moments. So for me, I cherish anything that I can get because, again, it's the feeling that I spoke about earlier that is the most beautiful thing. Because if you can feel that, it's that helps you get through whatever it is that you're faced with, whether it's dealing with the loss of that person or whether it's any challenge in life. I mean, it could really be anything. When you feel that love, that just gives you that little bit of extra strength, little bit of extra courage, whatever it is that you may need to go up against what you're faced with. So
how was the reaction from your parents when you mentioned to them that your dead sister had appeared to you that night? Did you ever mention it to them?
I didn't for years.
No way.
And I don't know why. I think it's because when I started talking to her and she responded, I mentioned it briefly to my mom, and I could sense from her that she wasn't ready for that and didn't really understand it. So I sort of just backed off because, again, this was new to me and it was new to them. So I really, going back, I was very naive. I was just a child. I was 15. And so I just sort of kept it to myself. I really just cherished it on my own. It probably wasn't until my early 20s, whenever I finally shared it with my grandparents, and they started sharing stories with me. So it was very welcoming from them. So they had shared stories of when my great-grandmother had passed and so forth. So it was very comforting for me to be able to share it with them. But even then, that was as far as I had gone until then in my 30s. So it's really only been about 8 or 9 years that I have been more public with it and more open about it with my family. Now, in the last 5 years, I am completely open with it and have been, guided to go down the path that I'm going, and that's how the book came about. The book is truly 100% inspired and guided by my sister. I mean, I have to say that I'm not one to read books, let alone write books. And so when I received the message that I'm supposed to write a book, I shrugged it off for a while because I thought, I don't even know what I'd write about. And so, I asked for guidance, as I always have done. And what I mean by that, and this is what I share with people, spiritual connections are also includes asking for guidance from our loved ones. And while they can't give us all answers in life because we're here to learn and grow from experiences, they can give us some guidance in places where we don't have lessons to learn. So for this, when I got the message that I should write a book, I specifically asked for guidance on, first of all, validation that was the message that I was receiving to write a book correct? And I must have asked that 15 or 20 times because I couldn't believe it. And every single time I got the response and validation. And so,
what was that validation?
And so I asked it several times. I said some prayers, and what I have done in my life, and this is for 25 years now, I asked for specific signs to say, if I really am supposed to write a book, show me something specific. And in the book, I talk about some of those specific signs. But as it relates to the book, I had asked for seeing 3 red cardinals on a branch. And so we may think that we need to see those 3 red cardinals alive on a tree branch outside of our home or in a park. But it came to me through a children's book one night when I was reading to my kids. And so when you ask for a sign, be open to it coming in any form or fashion, because everybody above is literal. So they're showing me 3 red cardinals on a branch. They weren't alive. It was in a children's book. So I had asked for specific signs like that, and I was shown them every single time the day I asked. Now, that doesn't always happen, but this was truly something that I was supposed to move forward with. And so I'm very much a person who follows my guidance. I think that does go back to having that connection with my sister at such an early age. At 15, I've only grown to know what it's like to have spiritual connection. So I really don't know what it's like to not have that. So, that is my life, and it has been miraculous and beautiful for me. I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for her on the other side cheering me on. It's fact. And I'm very thankful for that.
Does religion play a part? Does religion have a role in it? I'm not talking about faith now. I'm using the word religion specifically. Yeah. Does that have a role to play in it, or is it more faith?
It's more faith, because it really doesn't matter what religion you practice or don't. I mean, some people practice religion, some don't. It doesn't matter about that. It really is about your faith and what feels right to you. And, I will tell you that all of my family members, most of them at this time do support me now that the book's out and they've had an opportunity to read it. But there are some that still don't believe, or still don't believe in having connections, but also still don't believe that you should be doing that. And so I'm okay with that, because everyone needs to take what feels right to them. I mean, that's one of the fundamentals that I talk about. To me, my belief is there's no right or wrong in life. It's what's right. What feels right to you is right for you. May not be right for another person, but that's okay. So for me, when it comes to religions and having that practice or going down the route of what people's beliefs are, I don't need to get in that conversation with someone, because it's really, if it doesn't feel right to them, then that's fine. I'm not here to say you should be doing this or you should be doing that. What I'm here to do truly is to share this beautiful experience that I have found so beautiful in my life. My life is much better because I'm open to what's beyond. I'm open to receiving this unconditional love from above. I'm open to that. It feels good to me. So I just want to share that with everyone. And what everyone does with it is their choice, and that's okay.
Folks, our guest tonight, Deborah Heneghan, easy way to get her book. We're talking about connecting with lost loved ones on the other side. She lost her sister, Kathy, when she was just a teenager. We're going to be talking some more about some of the techniques that we can all use to communicate with somebody on the other side. Don't expect a fax. Don't expect an email. But there are signs you can look for that you can know that somebody is there speaking on the other side to you. And something I became aware of when you had written about the 1310 numbers. Every time you see 1310, those were her favorite number combinations. Yeah. Whenever I've seen the number 1241, which was the address where my dad died when I was 6, where we were living, I have always rejected that. But it comes up time and time and time again. Now, since reading your book, I'm paying attention to that. And now I can start to feel them around me. It's really, it's been a blessing.
That's beautiful. Ways. And really, that's his way of reaching out.
Absolutely.
So our loved ones are going to pick something that they know, that we know was something they liked. Yeah. So it's familiar for both of us. And they want to be invited back in our world because they just want to be able to sprinkle a little bit of the beauty from above on us. They know what it's like to be here and the challenges on life. Life is tough sometimes. And so why not have someone on the other side helping you along when they can? I mean, that's my perspective, because to me, I can use all the support and love that I can get, and I know everybody else can too. So why not be open to it? It feels good.
Can we ask them if they can reduce our taxes somehow? Is that a possibility?
Yeah.
I'm joking
really
around.
Nice.
Wouldn't that be sweet?
For the winning lotto numbers.
I like the way you think.
Yeah.
Folks, www.nightfrightshow. Just click on tonight's guest book cover. It's going to take you to a spot where you can get the book from the comfort of your own home. By the way, folks, just settle in tonight. Relax. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful journey for you tonight. Get the armchair up. Put your feet up. Get the coffee going. Get the tea going. All those things, folks. This is your time. Just sit back and relax. I want to talk about some specific things now. One of the things you had talked about earlier were rockstar moments. And Dale Earnhardt, I read the story about Dale Earnhardt, and I actually remember that darn crash when he was in NASCAR driver, folks, and he was in a horrible crash. Can we tell that whole story? I'll let you tell it rather than me. How's that?
Absolutely. So when he was in a crash, obviously his dad had passed away from a crash a couple years prior. And to know that, and he's a race car driver himself, of course, that's always, I would imagine, I'm obviously speaking for him, but I would imagine for him that was always in the back of his mind that the same thing would happen to him. And so lo and behold, it did happen to him. I mean, he got into a very horrible crash and lots of flames and different things. And the way that he described the time when he was in the car is someone helped him get out of the car. And he wanted to know who that person was that helped him get out of the car. And, you know, all of the rescue folks that were there to pull him out, there was nobody there to help him get out, but he said there was. I mean, so his memory is that there was someone there to help pull him out. And at this point, you look back and say, it was probably your dad. And of course, what better sense? You know, his dad is there to protect him because of the fear that he has that his life is going to end the same way that his dad's did. So it's really powerful to hear that this happens to other people. And what's interesting about the story is that this happened to him and it's unexplainable to everyone. Well, some people could say, oh, maybe he just was dreaming or, had an out-of-body experience. But, we can all try to come up with other stories to make ourselves as humans feel better about it. But the reality is these are miracles, and these miracles happen every day. Our lives are saved from loved ones because maybe it isn't our time, or our lives are saved from loved ones because they want to touch our heart to help change our perspective on life and to help us live a more positive life. And that's what I believe happened to Dale, because it really touched his heart. And from that point forward, he feels so much more connected with his father. And it's beautiful. And he has a much stronger faith in the powers above. And, sometimes that's why it happens as well, is to open up our eyes to realize that we should all have a bit more faith in life and in whatever experiences it is that we're faced with. So.
I think it's all part and parcel to the human condition. Folks, the book is called Closer Than You Think. Deborah Heneghan's our guest. www.nightfrightshow.com. Just click on the book cover. It'll take you right to a spot where you can order the book from the comfort of your own home. I think all the techniques and everything you've described in this book are all part of the human condition. And there must be a reason. The timing must be specific why you've written this book at this juncture, not only in your time, but I would say globally as well. I was wondering if we could maybe just talk about that a little bit, your perception on why this book is so apropos at this moment in our human journey.
That's awesome. I love the question. I think that the timing is absolutely right now. And why is that? Because when we look back over the last 10 years, there have been so many natural disasters and tragedies that have taken thousands, tens of thousands of lives, and we tend to wonder, why is that happening? I have my belief on that, but I believe that this is all happening because something's got to change in the world. I think we've gone down the wrong road at some point, and we're a little lost. I think everyone's a little lost in control. We're lost in money. And having that control and being better than the next person. And our goals and our actions in life are not for the right purpose. And I think that we just have lost focus on that. And so for me, my perspective is why there are disasters and so many lives being taken is because it's time for all of us to wake up. And unfortunately, we don't wake up unless something big makes us wake up. It shakes us and wakes us up. And so all of these things have been happening for the last several years to wake us up. And if you notice, when disasters happen, we all come together, strangers. We don't know anybody, but we all come together as a team, as a family, to help one another, and we never question it.
When things are at their worst, people are at their best.
Right.
Yes.
And so that is helping us to realize what's going on with this world. We have got to start to work better as a team when there isn't something like a disaster happening. And so when we do lose someone, even if it's just an individual within our own family, it's just as big as a disaster taking thousands because it still hurts as bad. When that happens, it's time for us to realize that we can no longer bury the emotions from our loss. I think that from my perspective, society and the world around us has made us feel as though we have to be strong no matter what, and that we can't show our emotions, and that we have to hide things and bury them and be strong. And, to me, sometimes it's quite okay to be weak. And you know what? To me, it shows strength if you cry, because that shows a confidence in yourself and in your ability to recognize what it is that you're feeling. And so right now, I think that this book coming out is great timing to help all of those who have lost loved ones over the last few years to these tragedies, something that's totally unexpected versus illnesses or passing at old age, things that you sort of expect. These tragedies are really causing people to go into a depression and into a grieving rut that they can't get out. So they need to find some way to work through that. And again, the world hasn't allowed us, in my perspective, over the years to grieve. It's just not something we talk about. The word death and grief make us all cringe. I mean, just the words, let alone the experience of it. So to me, it's high time for all of us to be open to our emotions from losing a loved one, as well as our emotions for any challenge in life. Be open with your emotions. The motto, which we talk about in the book, you cannot heal until you feel.
That's right.
If you don't feel and face your emotions and give yourself permission to let those emotions out, you will never heal. And if you can't heal, you're really not living life to the fullest the way that you could be. So I believe that the world is shifting and that the majority of the people will become those who are more spiritual, who are more faithful, and who are more open to what's beyond, because what's beyond actually can help us and can enrich our lives to whatever level we want. So I think it's timely because something's got to give and something's got to change in the world, from my perspective, because we're not headed down the right road and we're leading by control and money-hungry craziness. And this is not what life's about. Life is about living and having fun and living from your heart, not from your mind and from what someone else tells you to live by.
Absolutely. Folks, Deborah Heneghan is our guest tonight. Her book is called Closer Than You Think, How to Connect with the Other Side. That's what we're talking about tonight. www.nightfrightshow.com. Just click on tonight's guest book cover. That'll take you right to a spot where you can order it from the comfort of your own home as you're drinking your cup of tea. I can see you guys right now. You talked about disasters, and when I read your book, I thought of the folks in 9/11. Maybe it was because there's a movie that Incredibly Loud or something like that had just come out a couple of months ago, and I was just wondering if this might not be a good, I hate to say, instruction manual for a lot of the families that have lost people. But then I was thinking of something else as well. A very good friend of mine had lost her son in Afghanistan. Andrew Miller, folks, you've heard me talk about him before. Number 149 Canadian soldier lost his life to an IED, and he was a medic rushing to help people. She had her son visit her in a dream. And I thought, wow, this is really, really profound. And she wanted to hang on to him. And he said, well, I can't even allow you to remember this dream because that's not how it works. And she said, please, please, I need something. So he said, okay, this one time, I'm going to allow you to retain the memory from this dream. Can we talk a little bit about dreams and how, because I have them all the time when relatives come to me, dead relatives and precognitions and things like that. Again, that's all part, I think, of the human experience. Can we talk a little bit about that? Because there's a big section in your book on that.
About dreams.
Yeah.
Right. And it's amazing. So when your loved one can come to you in your dreams. It has happened to me a couple times, not often. I'm one that prefers to sleep, so I always say, please bring me my messages while I am awake and conscious. But, messages come in different ways for different people. But dream state is definitely a time when most people, or a very large majority of the people, do receive messages because they're settled, they're calm, they're open, they're more open because their subconscious will kick in and they're not conscious and their mind is not involved to say, we shouldn't be doing this, or is that my loved one or not. So your mind doesn't really get involved. You're much more in a settled state and more open to receive messages at that time. So many people do have their loved ones come to them in a dream. It's beautiful. Most of the time, loved ones are just there. They may smile. You look at them and you think, wow, they look younger, they look great, but they don't always say anything. I'd be curious to hear if your experience when you've had dreams, if your loved ones have said anything to you. Because what I have found in my research is that usually if a loved one speaks to you in your dream, or even during the day when you're awake, when they talk to you or speak to you, you better listen up, because whatever it is that they're saying is a message for you to really hear. They don't often speak to us via voice. So if you hear their voice and they're talking, pay attention, because they're trying to get your attention for whatever message it is that they're delivering. And a lot of times those messages via voice do come through dreams. But in dream state, like I said, a lot of messages come through that way because we're more open to receiving then versus whenever we're awake and conscious.
Folks, if you're just joining us, we're talking about connecting with the other side tonight. How everybody can do this. Very simple techniques to do it, and people that have crossed over are around us all the time, and this book is a great example on how to connect with them. Our guest tonight is Deborah Heneghan. The book is called Closer Than You Think, The Easy Guide to Connecting. I got to read, because I'm getting older, the eyes, what can I tell you? The Easy Guide to get the hair, the ears. Okay, we'll stop there. Connecting with loved ones on the other side. And easy way to get it, as always, folks, www.nightfrightshow.com. Click on tonight's guest book cover. You're just joining us. Settle in, folks. Lots of time left. We're just going to talk some more about connecting with the other side. Some of the techniques available to you to listen to dead loved ones that have passed on. Now, Deborah, do you feel there's any need to discern between a guardian angel and a passed on loved one, or are they part and parcel, one and the same? I'm thinking of all the warnings that have come up. There's many, many examples in your book. People that are about to step out on the street and all of a sudden an invisible hand discern between an angel, so to speak, a guardian angel, and a loved one.
I don't. I mean, have a different perspective, but my perspective is they are all one and the same. I call my sister my angel friend above, my grandmother as well, my aunt, many other people at this point that I've lost. I really think that they are all angels because they are above. They want to assist us in some way. They want to provide us a little bit of love and comfort, just as our guardian angels or spirit guides want to as well. So for me, I really consider them all the same, but that's just my perspective. And, everybody has a different view, but I think that they're all, they are all, just as we are, spiritual beings. We just happen to be spiritual beings in a physical body at this time, but everybody over on the other side, they're all spiritual beings. So to me, an angel, a spirit guide, or loved ones, they are all spiritual beings no matter what. And so I just consider them all the same and are here to help us whenever we need it.
Did you ever ask your sister why she had to go? It would seem to me, if I had the opportunity to sit face to face with my dad, I keep coming back to him, I guess he was, what the hell, where did you go? Why?
Yeah. I haven't actually ever asked her that, but I have the answer even without asking.
Please.
And it's very interesting. I believe that she left. I know this probably sounds crazy, but I truly believe that she chose to only come into this lifetime for a short period of time just to establish a relationship with myself and my family members, everyone around us, so that we could know her, so that when she would leave, we would know that she is here with us. I truly believe that she left so that she could be of more assistance to us on the other side, because our loved ones are most definitely more helpful to us from the other side than they are here, because they have a much bigger viewpoint from above and they see the bigger picture versus us. And so I believe that my sister leaving early, as well as all the other people that we have all lost in disasters and so forth, that they all have chosen to leave when they did because they can be of more assistance to all of us from the other side, and that they are all part of helping all of us get on our life path so that we can help bring more love and peace into the world. So I believe that she left when she did so that I could experience it at an early age, so that I could learn about spiritual connections. So now, at this time, I can go down the path of trying to teach this, because, I've had a career for 20 years and I know I will be leaving that career soon, and I'm in the transition stage. And if someone were to say that to me 5 years ago, I would say, you're nuts. I love my career. I would never leave it. Yeah. And so this is believing, even though it's 25 years ago, her leaving is helping me to get on the path of sharing my experience to help others get through their pain. And it's the same for other people who lose loved ones, and all of a sudden, from that loss, their life path changes. They write a book, they start teaching, whatever it may be. I mean, I have many clients who have lost children who now have websites, who now do speaking engagements. They have groups for parents who lose children. That's now their life. Well, their loved one left so that they can be the strong person to help others who may not be as strong. So that's what I believe. I do believe she left so that I could learn all of what I did for the last 25 years and now share that with others. So
do you ever get conflicting messages from her? And you're not sure, how do you ask for clarity, I guess, is the ultimate question.
I always ask for specific signs. I'm all about saying, show me a purple dolphin or, a red tree or something that,
Three
with
birds
colors.
On a branch, yeah.
Right. I mean, if there is something that I'm not sure about and I think I got the message, I will ask for a more clear sign. I mean, sometimes I will just ask a general question on, I might say, okay, Kat, do you think that I should change jobs? I'm thinking I might want to switch jobs. Do you think I should? And I didn't really ask for anything specific. So I may get a sign where I'm thinking, I think that was a yes, but then I'm not sure. So then at that point I'll say, okay, if it's a yes, then show me a purple dolphin, or if it's a no, show me an alligator. It could be anything. Seems very simple, but you take whatever feels good to you. Sometimes I get the answer, and sometimes I don't. When I don't get the answer, I realize this is something that I'm supposed to figure out on my own. So to me, I've gotten so many answers, and it's been fantastic. I ask all the time. I'm this crazy person that always asks, because I figure if you don't ask, you can't receive. So I ask all the time, and I get a ton of answers, but there are a ton that I don't get. And so I just have come to realize that those where I don't get the answers are the times when I need to go through whatever experience to learn whatever lesson it is that I'm supposed to learn.
Is there any question that you always wanted to ask her, but for some reason you're afraid to ask her? Is there anything you're holding back on?
I don't think so. Not at this point. I'm pretty open, and
okay.
Please
go ahead.
Yep. No, go ahead. I was just going to say that
Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead. I'll shut up. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say that I usually ask her everything, and I don't typically hold back. So I'm pretty sure that I've asked her everything that I've wanted to.
Are there different techniques you use to communicate with her? Not only try to recognize the signs coming back, but do you speak verbally to her? Is it what's the word? Telepathically?
Telepathically?
Yeah. Do you write things down as if you're writing a pen pal? Something along those lines? Everything.
All of the above. So a lot of people always ask, if I were to connect, some people will say, I know that feeling that you're talking about. My loved one passed away and I felt the feeling. They came to me somehow. But now what do? I want to connect more. How do I get started? So what I tell people is, just start talking to your loved one, and you can talk out loud. You can talk to them in your mind. You can put pen to paper. So start writing them a letter if you want to. You can just start talking about your feelings. and sharing that you're angry that they left, or that you're sad, or that you're happy because you can remember this or that. Whatever it is, just let it all spill out. But, do it verbally in your mind, in paper, in a diary, whatever feels comfortable to you is what I always tell people. So just let it roll on out. And again, to start it, you can just have a conversation, or you can ask specific questions. So it really just depends. And what I would like to say to people is, whenever you do that, be sure to just be open to receiving the answers, and know that they may come or they may not. So when you send out your message and you ask for a sign, don't go running and hunting for it. Was that it? Is it here? Was that them? Because that's just pushing it away. You want to have faith in the process, and have faith in knowing that you will receive an answer or a message when the time is right. Because sometimes I don't always get them, and it might be weeks later, and I think, oh, thanks for checking in. But, it just really depends. So, just be open to receiving the message whenever it comes, or be open to not receiving a message because maybe you're not meant to receive a message for whatever it is that you asked for.
Do you ever try to contact other relatives that have passed on, not only your sister? Mm-hmm. Has that been successful for you?
I have, yeah. In the last few years, probably in the last 10 years or so, I've connected with my grandmother and grandfather, and also my aunt, who just passed away about four years ago or so. I feel them around. I never thought of connecting with them until they reached out to me. So my grandmother is very much a person that likes to do things physically, meaning knocking things over, playing with the light switches, turning lights on and off. And, that's not my sister's thing, but that is my grandmother. And so she would do that, and I'd think, wow, my grandma's here. That actually opened me up to connecting with her. Before then, I was really just focused on my sister because, again, that's what I was used to and that's what I grew up with. But now I'm absolutely open to connecting with anyone and everyone who wants to come in. So I'm good with whoever comes in. I just ask whoever would like to answer, and who's not busy, that's who comes in.
Who's not busy? I remember the old party lines, you'd wait for the, folks, the book is called Closer Than You Think. Our guest tonight, Deborah Heneghan. Easy way to get the book, folks, www.nightfrightshow.com. Just click on tonight's guest book cover, right to a place where you can order the book from the comfort of your own home. Are you ever afraid you might attract something that you don't want to attract from the other side? Or is that even part of your belief system?
Well, it was at one point, but what I have done for myself is I say prayers all the time. So I'm very much a faithful person, and I say prayers to protect myself and clear myself of things that aren't for my highest purpose. So I will say a prayer that clears me of things around me or attached to me that may not be for my good. But I have had experiences in the past where I have felt entities, if you will, that were not a good feeling. And so I've just pretty much made it known that I'm only open to connecting with those who I'm asking. So for me, those on the other side, my belief is they're only going to come in if we ask them. If there happens to be someone or something there that isn't who we expected, all that we need to do is just voice what it is that we want and just say, you're not welcome here, so please leave. And they will. I mean, it's that simple. It's not something that is dangerous or in any malicious way that anyone wants to do anything. It's just sometimes you can pick up an energy that doesn't feel so good. So I just will clear that and say, please, go away, and only those who I'm calling on to come in.
Do you think we're on a convergence with the other side? That eventually there won't be another side, and there won't be a this side or that side? It'll just be all one great big whatever it is? And I'm not talking about when we die, because obviously when we die we do go to the other side, but I mean a physical convergence because I think we're moving step by step, inching towards that, and I think it's actually increasing in my own view, and I'll get your response to this in a second. I think it's going exponentially, actually.
I agree with you. I actually would have never thought of that. That's an awesome question. I wonder.
Your check's in the mail. I think I have your address.
Right. I love it. I wonder. I wouldn't be surprised if that's where we're headed, because I do believe that where things are shifting and how things are shifting is to be more spiritual. And so for us to have an understanding that we are all spiritual beings, we were spiritual beings before coming into this physical body, we're a spiritual being right now in the physical body, and when we leave, we'll be a spiritual being. I do believe that it will start to merge. Yes, I love how you said that, because I think one day it probably will happen that way. Because why not? We're all spiritual beings. It's a matter of us as humans to get out of our head and get out of these beliefs that somehow were made up along the way that we follow. If we all could just go within our heart and get reconnected with our true divine high self, our spiritual being, we'll know what love is. We'll know that, it's okay to live life from your heart and to do what feels right to you and not worry about outside or external sources or external things to us. So we're all spiritual beings. Why not? I would love to see that. I love that thought.
Hey, thank you. Are you a believer in reincarnation?
I am.
Where I'm going with this is if your sister was to reincarnate, would she probably be in touch with you somehow once she's reincarnated on this side again? In other words, could she be born to you? Could she be born to a friend, a relative? And all of a sudden, would you recognize her? Gets into a whole different realm, doesn't it? But
it does.
This is Night Fright, baby. We go everywhere.
I love it, but you will love my answer, because I have 2 little boys right now. My oldest is 4, my youngest will be 3 shortly. And I believe that my firstborn could very well be her. And there have been many things that have made me feel that way. When I first got pregnant with him, when he was born, while I was pregnant with him, many different messages. When he was born, different people, different psychics have said, you should really think about it. This is your sister coming back. And, I wonder. I'm open to that. I sort of have a feeling that could be true. It's very interesting because it's hard to comprehend, especially as a human, because I think, well, she's still helping me, but if she's him, how does that all work out? But, I'm open to it because, again, we're spiritual beings. So
precisely. That could be just a limitation of our own mindset too, because
it is, yeah.
We always try to box things in and define them by closing things in. Like, let me give it a good example. We can't fathom the possibility that the universe is infinite. We always have to put an end on it for some reason. So, let's talk about how you got pregnant. Not how you got pregnant, but
just
how you can see now. You know what I'm trying to say.
I know.
There's a little bit of a miracle surrounding that.
So many miracles for both of my pregnancies. So I had a problem getting pregnant, so we had to use fertility. And using fertility, for anybody that has used it, you know that you can't time anything. I mean, it's going to be based on nature, your body, how it responds. There's no set cycle for anyone. It's different. It's even different for your own self if you were to go through several cycles and not get pregnant. It could be 20 days, 40 days, you never know. So for me, the first time that we got pregnant, we had used fertility and got pregnant the first time that we had used the fertility. And the due date for my oldest son was my sister's birthday. So it was November 8th, and I just thought, Kathy is involved with this one. And so he was born early. He came 3 weeks early, so he was not born on her birthday, but his due date was her birthday. And when I had him, when I went into the delivery room, the nurse that came, it was in the middle of the night, the nurse that came that greeted me at the door in the emergency room, her name was Ann, and that was my grandmother. And I thought, I'm good. And then when I went into the room number was 8, which was Kathy's birthday. The bed number was 13, a combination of her favorite number. And the nurse that switched shifts in the middle of the night, who actually helped me deliver, and I'm talking, she held my leg and everything else that nurses do, the beautiful woman, her name was Kathy. I mean, it couldn't get any better. I thought everybody's here to help me deliver because, being a mom for the first time and delivering, it's very scary. So to have my whole family around, I thought, I'm good. I know that this is going to go great. So that happened. And then my second time getting pregnant, we had gone through 3 cycles of fertility. And on the 3rd cycle, we had gotten pregnant. We got pregnant on my sister's birthday. So the due date, it wasn't the due date, but it was on her birthday that we got pregnant. And again, I mean, this is not something you can make up, and you can't time it because fertility, the cycles are different every time. So it was amazing to have that involved, and just to know that she was here to let me know that all is well with the pregnancies and with giving birth to them.
All those stories, folks, are in this book, by the way, and the book is called Closer Than You Think. It's the easy guide to connecting with loved ones on the other side. Our guest tonight is Deborah Heneghan. And let's talk about, because you just mentioned those stories, and the way you keep track of the dates is amazing, too. You call it Angel in a Pocket.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that as well?
Absolutely. So I always recommend for people I always call my sister my angel in my pocket. So I carry her around with me everywhere where I go. So she's with me all the time. And I just basically mean she's just near my heart. But for me, what I suggest to people is carry a journal with you. It's your angel journal that you can carry around with you to capture some of the subtle signs or synchronicities that may occur, because sometimes we don't realize that something came through and that is a message for us. We may not realize it until we go back and look it over. Well, there's nothing to look over unless you're capturing it. So I really suggest that, especially in the beginning, to capture different things that are unusual or that caught your attention or that gave you a warm fuzzy. Capture that so that you're able to look at it, and by looking at all the things that you record, you actually may find a pattern of how your loved one is connecting with you. So sometimes you don't know, are they trying to reach out through animals, through songs, through numbers, through other people's phrases, whatever it may be. By capturing that, you're able to then take a look at the patterns and maybe figure out how they're trying to connect.
It's exciting, isn't it, this time for you? Not only with the book, but connecting with the other side and writing it down and defining it for us all. I think that's a big gift that you've brought to the world. So kudos to you, my friend. Folks, we're going to have to start to wrap up now. Deborah, is there anything you want to leave a message with for the folks that are watching right now?
I would just say to please be open to connecting with your loved ones. I know that you all have had an experience where it's touched your heart when a loved one has passed away. Take that experience for what it's worth. It's beautiful. Embrace that and feel that and take it within you and do with it what you feel is comfortable for you. So expand upon it if you want to, or just cherish that for the times when you're feeling really low, because you will have down days. I call them boohoo kitty days. I have plenty of them myself, even knowing the strong connection I have with my sister. I have plenty of down days, and what I do to get through those days is I embrace the feeling of her connecting with me, and that gives me the strength to make it through those days and to continue forward. So I know how hard it is to get through voids and to get through the pain. We all do. So find what it is that gives you that strength to make it through, and reuse that whenever you do have the down days. So I would just recommend that people focus on the goodness when you can, and when you are having a bad day or a down day, be in it. Feel your emotions, allow them to surface, because by letting out those emotions, you are letting some air out of the balloon. You're shifting that energy. The action of just crying, if you will, is allowing you to feel, and it's also shifting the energy. So don't forget to give yourself permission to feel whatever emotions surface.
Thank you so much. I think that's a great way to leave it. Folks, our guest tonight's been Deborah Heneghan. The book is called Closer Than You Think, The Easy Guide to Connecting with Loved Ones on the Other Side. I'm Brent Holland from Fright. Thank you all for joining us. See you next time.
You're listening to Night Fright and your host, Brent Holland. The time is now. Your voice in the dark for paranormal and conspiracy radio.